The split container provides two panels that are split horizontally or vertically. The panels are separated by a movable bar, which sets the width or the height of each panel respectively. Making one panel larger makes the other panel smaller, and vice versa. A good example of this, as you see here, is the Windows Explorer, which hosts a tree view control to represent the file system on the left-hand side, and a list view control to represent folders or files on the right-hand side. To demonstrate the split container control, I've created a small application called SplitContainer CS. Let's go ahead and run the application. It doesn't do a whole lot. We have a tree view on the left-hand side and a list view on the right-hand side. And you can see as I click through, you'll see different items appear within the list view. The star of the show, however, is our little splitter bar here. And we'll demonstrate that in just a few moments. And then also we've added a little context menu that allows us to set some of the properties of the split control. And for example, we can fix it in place so that it can't be moved. So now I'm hovering my mouse cursor over the splitter bar and it can't be moved any longer. I can set the splitter width. So you can see now the splitter, instead of being narrow, is about, I'd say 100, 150 pixels wide, whatever we set it to. And then we can also set the left so that we can decide the absolute size of some of our panels within the splitter. So we set this to a very small size. The split container control is contained within our toolbox under the containers section. You can see here we have a split container. We're going to demonstrate the use of this a little bit more in just a moment. We also have a context menu strip, and we set that as a property of our split container by selecting the split container control. And if it's difficult to select it within the design view, you can just simply go to the properties window and then select it from the available components that are on your form. And then scrolling down and setting the context menu strip to one of the available menu strips within your application. So that gives us the pop-up menu functionality that we saw just a moment ago. Now the code itself within the context menu strip is not that exciting. For example, we can take a look at the click event for the fix splitter toolstrip menu item click event. We simply set the isSplitterFixed property of our split container equal to true. In the set the splitter width, we simply set the splitter width to 100. You recall that made a really fat splitter bar. And then finally, whenever we wanted to set the left panel to a very small size, we are simply setting the splitter distance equal to 30. What's a little more exciting is to actually set it all up in the first place. So I have a blank form here called form1.cs. And I'm going to put a split container control. Here we go. Onto our design surface to kind of demonstrate how it can be used. As you can see, by default, whenever we add our split container control, it'll take up and dock to the entire size of our form. That's great. What we can also do is add a second split container control into one of the panels. So for example, in panel 2, we're adding a second split control, and I may want to configure that to have a orientation of horizontal instead. So now I have a splitter or a split container control within a split container control. The next thing to do is just to simply put some controls into our new container. So as we saw in our example, we may put a tree view control into our first panel, and we may need to dock this in the parent container so that it takes up the entire space. And the same might be true here with a list view control, which we want in our upper panel. Again, we'll need to dock in the parent container. And then, I don't know, let's pick something else here that might fit well. Perhaps a rich text box, which might provide some sort of a preview of the given file that's being selected. So it's docked here in our third panel. And so now we've enabled the resizing of the various windows here, the various panels within our form, by simply using a split container control. And that's all there is to it.